Hi guys, it's Melanie and Laura again. And today we're going to talk about manifestation and what does it mean and how can you do it?
So also, I this kind of got prompted because someone was asking me in a session the other day, how do you explain this concept to someone who has zero concept of it? And I would love to pick your brain on that because I kind of went, ooh, that's a good question.
How do you explain manifestation to someone who doesn't understand that you can manifest a different reality by just changing your thought process? A long time ago, I started talking to people about thoughts being things. Anything that has ever existed began with a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have some type of vessel that I didn't have to hold this water in my hands to drink it? And a cup was created. Somebody thought about the way the stars move in the sky, and we got astronomy. Somebody else thought about how people act weird during moon phases, and we got astrology. So, I mean, there's anything and everything that ever existed in your reality showed up in your reality because it became a thought. So if you are an individual who is dealing with a lot of heavy things and your focus remains on those heavy things, you are going to manifest heavy things. Whereas if you are in heavy things and you shift your focus, you shift your energy, and it's sometimes just a very subtle shift, it changes what you bring in, what you draw into yourselves. And this can be drawn back to quantum physics. They have studied brainwave patterns. Positive brainwave patterns vibrate at a higher frequency.
Okay.
Negative brainwave patterns vibrate at a lower frequency.
Okay.
Frequency attracts frequency. If you are mentally vibrating at a low level, you will remain in an environment and create an environment that magnetizes other low energies to you. If you shift that and mentally think, and I'm not talking, hey, think a happy thought and everything will get better. That's crap. That's not how this works. The idea is, if you think a negative thought, recognize it, and then immediately shift it in your head. You could be sitting there going, oh my God, I don't have enough money for, I'm so broke. Stop. My needs are met. I'm so fat. Stop. My body is healthy. It doesn't even have to be, I'm a supermodel.
Right.
It just has to, and it takes practice. It takes practice because you can go from, oh my God, I'm fat, to, oh my God, I'm a supermodel. You can do that, but it takes practice to get there.
Right.
A lot of times, what first and foremost is to recognize the negative thought patterns. It's very easy. I have a very close friend. Everything is negative. Everything is, great, this thing got effed up today, and this went sideways today, and this da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and she's always, F my life, And I get it. We are human. We live on this planet. There is negative crap happening around us all day, every day. You can choose to participate in that energy, or you can choose to elevate above it by elevating your thoughts around it, by recognizing, okay, I'm going to the mailbox, and I know I'm going to open that mailbox, and there's going to be a bill sitting in that mailbox. Or I'm going to open my email, and there's going to be a bill sitting in my email. Somebody needs to be paid, whatever. Instead of looking at that bill and going, oh my God, another bill. How am I going to do this? I don't have the money for this. I can't afford this. Stop and see that bill as proof from the universe that you will have the money to pay that bill.
Okay.
And thank the bill.
Ooh.
It sucks.
Yeah.
That's hard. Thank the bill. But I see the bill and I go, thank you for having faith in me.
So that you know what, that's actually really interesting, because I think I was doing that without realizing I was doing that, because there was a point where I rented an office space a couple years ago, and you know, there were a couple of lean months, and I'm going, okay, but I have an office space,
right,
and I have the ability,
right,
it will come,
right,
it's just a matter of being
right.
patient.
And I mean, this was told to me by one of my mentors. She was the one that told me, start thinking that bill. Yeah. Start seeing that bill as an opportunity or acknowledgement from the universe that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this was another good friend of mine looked at me. I spend far more time, a lot less than I used to, but I still spend a lot of time in a lack mindset. There's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. And part of that was something I was able to shift by shifting how I thought about my money. We had this whole conversation about, what if you spoke to your money the way that you speak to a loved one? You're never enough. There's never enough of you. You're not there when I need you. You wouldn't say those things.
No.
And have a healthy relationship.
That's
so you want
point.
a healthy relationship with money. You change your language about money. One of the little things, and this, it all falls into manifesting, because for me, manifesting financial security is a big thing. One of the things that I stopped saying is, I can't afford that. What I say now is, I'm not spending my money there.
Yeah, I'm choosing to spend my money.
I'm choosing not to spend my money there.
Okay.
Not, I can't afford it.
Right.
I have money, but I'm not going to put my money there.
Yeah.
And again, it changes the chemistry in your brain, which in turn changes the frequency at which your brain resonates, and changes what is then vibrating at the same level as you. Because we go to whatever level we're vibrating at.
Yeah.
And whatever's vibrating around us comes to the level we're at. So you can go into a negative situation, and I've done this. I've gone into situations. I walked into a party one time where some major shit had just gone down, and everybody was tense. I wasn't there for the stuff. I missed that part. But I walked in, and you could just tell. I chose to bring in higher energy. I chose to bring in a more light tone, a more energetic reaction to people, and was able to actually shift the energy of the entire environment by not choosing to drop into where everyone else was. Because it's also been scientifically proven that lower vibration changes to higher vibration faster than higher vibration drops down to lower vibration.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That frequency, it shifts faster from low frequency to high frequency than it does for high frequency to shift down to low frequency.
And now I'm kind of thinking of some different things that I've seen, witnessed, experienced, whatever, that Yeah,
Mhm.
duh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because once we're up there and once we practice, and it's a muscle,
Mm-hmm.
we get into really lazy habits with our thoughts, just like we get in really lazy habits with our bodies.
Right.
We get in really lazy language patterns as well. We get into very negative language patterns. And if you can subscribe to the belief that what I say and what I think become reality,
Mm-hmm.
you then start being more aware of what you are saying and what you are thinking that are creating your current reality. If you catch yourself saying negative things or negative comments, or you're that one person on Facebook that likes to just crap on somebody's post,
Mm-hmm.
and there might be a reason that you're in a situation that you're in a life that you're not happy with.
Right.
They talk all the time about misery loves company. Well, that is true, because I don't know if you've noticed, you'll get a collective together of individuals, and one person will start complaining about this, and then the other person is complaining about this and this and this, and all of a sudden you've got a table of really down conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it works the opposite direction too.
Yeah.
And you can, once you get better at monitoring your own thought processes and your own language around manifesting positive things, you can actually shift that at a table of a conversation. You can actually, if somebody's talking about something, and go, well, have you ever thought about it from the flip
Right.
side? Have you
Do
ever
this all the
thought
time
about
in
it?
my work.
Exactly. As a therapist, we're trained to do it.
Right.
But it's like, have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to raise the elevation,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody just keeps,
Yes.
it's just crap. It's just crap. It doesn't matter. It's just crap. It's just crap. Then you can excuse yourself from the situation.
Yeah. And if honestly, I've done this where, in fact, I'm part of a group text that there is one person that constantly brings things back around to, oh my God, life is terrible, the world's ending, henny penny
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And I've just started responding with, okay, you can feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then continuing on with my conversation with the rest of
Mm-hmm.
the group.
Right.
And just kind of starting to draw the boundary subtly
Right.
to kind of emphasize that's you,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to shit on the rest of it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's not something for the weak, and that's not something for,
Right.
if you're very, very conflict avoidant, just excuse yourself.
Right. It makes me very sad when I see an individual, and I have a particular person in mind that I'm thinking of right now.
Okay.
When I see an individual who is really struggling with their life,
Mhm.
and they're really struggling with their life because they are sharing every single negative aspect that is going on in their life. It makes me sad because I know that if that person could start looking at things from a less catastrophic angle,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's just a little less catastrophic,
Right.
you got to start small. You
Right.
can't just, like I said, you can't go from, oh my God, I'm terrible, to I'm a supermodel.
Right.
And
Find that little tiny sliver of,
it's a practice. It's a practice. And it might, in some cases, some people do better journaling than actually trying to catch it in the moment. Sit down and write, pick a topic that's difficult for you. Let's say you've got a difficult relationship with one of your siblings. Write down all the negative things that come to mind about that relationship, and then write something more positive. And then the next time you think that thought about that sibling, immediately follow it with that other thought. Learning how to recognize
That's the biggest part, I think.
is the hardest part. Learning how to recognize, and for me, I tend to be really visual with stuff like that. For me,
Okay.
it's putting pencil or pen to paper makes it stick in my head better, so that if I can sit there and write, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling with this person in my life, and I'm struggling because of this, and this.
Yeah.
Let's say, I have a relationship with someone in my life who is an alcoholic, and I hate the fact that they drink, and I hate the fact that when they're drunk they act like this, and I hate the fact that when they do this and do this. Just changing I hate to it saddens me.
Yeah. Oh, that goes
That
into, yeah.
changes the vibration, because you can be saddened and it changes from hate
Mm-hmm.
to compassion.
Right.
It changes from hate to caring. And then it could shift in another 3 or 4 months of doing this exercise. It's not I hate or it makes me sad. It's this is how this person is. It becomes acceptance, which becomes a neutral frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So you've taken it from this really low level frequency to still kind of a low level frequency to a neutral frequency. And then maybe a few months later, it's, I love them very much even though they drink.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now-
love them in spite of
Right.
what they do. And you can make it about your feelings about that individual versus about their behavior.
Now, that does not mean that you have to continue to
Oh,
tolerate that.
Absolutely.
Their boundaries
That's
still
totally,
play a part.
that's a totally different
and I'm
piece
just
of
gonna
it.
put that out there.
That's,
like
for
she said,
me,
different-
it's about, it was a illustration
Right.
of how it can change incrementally
right.
by just becoming aware of it. I
See,
just
and-
use that as an example because it's the first one that popped into my
and
head.
it's a great example. The way that you talk about changing your language around something, I do this in session all the time. I'm like, let's change the way we said that, because you're putting the idea in your head that it is permanent,
Right.
or you're putting the idea in your head that this is actually a bad thing when there's no moral value to it.
Right.
You know, it
Right.
is what it is.
It is, right.
And okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I really like the way that you've described this so
And
far.
I think that if you can get to a place where you are not in judgment,
Mhm.
that's another key piece of it, is to not judge a situation as good or bad.
Right.
It is just a situation, and what you bring to it determines whether it's going to be good or bad.
Right.
The situation itself is neutral.
Your behavior, your actions, your reactions,
Yep. Your language
response.
around it, your response to it determines whether this is going to be a negative interaction or a positive interaction.
Right.
And my husband and I are prime examples of this. He will get upset about something and he'll be blah, 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 blah. I'm mad about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, at least it wasn't blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not helpful. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because, okay, today we installed a gas stove. We went from electric to gas. We have a 125-year-old house. The gas line has probably been capped for 60 years. Okay? Trying to undo the gas line, trying to take the cap off the gas line, all I was doing was unscrewing the pipe that went down into the elbow. I wasn't, and you can't get to the elbow because the elbow's in the floor joist. Okay, so it turned into 2 trips to Home Depot, and the first flexible line we bought was a fine thread. The other one was a coarse thread. So, I mean, there were all of these things. And he was complaining about, well, we've got to do this and we've got to do that, and it's going to turn out like this and it's going to turn out like that. And I said, but it could turn out just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But he does the same thing to me, because sometimes I will get stuck in catastrophizing something.
Mm-hmm.
Catastrophizing. There it is.
I have trouble saying the word too,
yeah,
just because tongue-tied.
well,
Go on.
Catastrophe. I love the word catastrophe, but when I catastrophize, he will now start doing the same thing. And I'm taking credit for that. I'm taking credit for the fact that he has learned that it could be worse.
Right.
And it could always be worse.
Right.
And if at the bare minimum, if you start out at, it could be worse.
Mm-hmm.
That in turn will make you look at the positives in the situation, because it's not whatever.
And it may be that
is.
the positive is I can work on this, or I can resolve this.
I can grow from this.
Because I do have a lot of people that come in and they're like, oh, well, I don't have it as bad as, or it really could be worse. I should be grateful. You don't have to be grateful for the bad.
Right.
And the very, very difficult, but you can be grateful for the ability to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can be grateful that, like, you have that chance to learn and grow from it.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying,
but it's still hard work.
You've lost your child.
Right.
Your child has passed away and it could be worse. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is, you've lost the child. You've lost your child. You are grieving. And you are grieving because you actually had the ability to love that person in the first place.
Yeah.
That doesn't mitigate the ugly and the pain and the sad. I mean, you can't just think away negative, painful, or sad situations. What you can do is change how it impacts you in a moment-to-moment basis, especially when you're dealing with something like grief.
Right.
Grief is not a path, a straight path through. You don't start here and move to here. You go over here, you go over there. Sometimes you go clear over here and you think, oh, I'm past it. And then you find that you've slid all the way back. So in situations like that, let's focus on that for just a minute. In a situation like that, you are in the depths of your grief. Finding the things to think about that person that made you happy while they were still on this plane of existence is something I think a lot of people avoid doing because it's painful.
Yeah.
They don't want to think about that person. They push that stuff away and they don't want to do it. But what I find is most healing and most elevating to your vibration is to smile about those things, to laugh about those things. When you're with a group, some of the best funerals and wakes that I've been to is when we can sit around and just rip on the person that's passed because they would have loved that, or they would have thought that was funny, or any number of things. I had a very dear friend pass away a couple of years ago, and I did her service at my home. And one of the things that she had specifically asked for was at the very end of her service, as people are leaving, she wanted Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead played. And I promised her I would. I had it queued up. The other thing she asked me not to do was not go on and on about how wonderful she was, and she lit up a room, and she goes, I didn't. I pissed people off. I was very opinionated. Don't tell people I lit up a room. Don't tell people how wonderful I was. Don't stand up there and say all these goody things about me. And so I didn't. But at the moment in that service where I started waxing a little poetic about her, all of a sudden it started playing and no one touched the button. And it was kind of like her cue to say, hey, we're keeping this light, remember?
Right. Oh, that's
so
funny.
I love when you can move through the grief process by celebrating that.
Right.
Celebrating that love,
That is
celebrating
such a wonderful,
the-
beautiful example.
the way to do it, because you would not be feeling, you would have no idea what that depth of grief felt like if you had not already had the pleasure of experiencing the equivalent level of love.
Yeah.
And when you can focus on the equivalent level of love versus the equivalent level of loss, two different levels of vibration.
So, to sum it up in a really short little thing, the quote, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened."
Because it happened. Exactly. And that can be applied to other areas of your life, not just in grieving. A move from a home to another home. It's a good move. It's a good thing, but it can come with some really stressful, negative.
Still stress.
It's still stress.
It
Good
can be
stress.
good stress.
Good stress is still stress.
Right.
But there are a lot of negatives that can come with it. Maybe you miss I really liked the way the stairs were in the other house. I don't like the stairs in this house, blah, 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 blah. Again, don't get so hung up in how it ended
Mhm.
with your old house. Look at how it began with the new house. Look at the fact that you had a house to begin with,
True.
I mean, there's a lot to be said about finding the wonder in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
even when the moment is an awful moment. One of the things I like to ask myself when I am going through a situation that is just breaking my heart, or it's a situation that, God, are we fucking doing this again? Why are we doing this again? I always ask myself, what am I learning here?
Okay. So that is exactly when my mom passed away 13 years ago.
It's been that long. It really
It's been a little bit.
Wow.
But she fell and had severe injuries, and she was in the hospital for 4 months before she passed. And I was working full-time, part-time, homeschooling 2 kids, and in grad school, all at the same time that I was also going to the hospital every day.
Mm-hmm.
And being there because she had a brain injury, couldn't advocate for herself. She had her records and information wasn't moving from department to department with her. And so it was very frustrating that there were things getting missed. And so I was there every day when the doctors were doing their rounds to make sure that things
Everybody was on the same page. Right.
And I was so exhausted with everything I had happening. And I remember thinking one morning I woke up and I'm like, if I don't find a happy thought, I am not going to get my ass out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I laid there for 15 minutes before I thought, I guess I woke up.
Yeah.
And that was all I could muster that
Mm-hmm.
day. But I started doing this every day. And over time, I started finding myself looking for what can be my happy thought for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at it as, you know what? I'm learning a lot through this. What am I learning? And I
Right.
started looking at the positives and trying to find what are the things that I can hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
And
sometimes they're really tiny. Sometimes you got to really look for them, but they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, and that's where I was like, I guess it's a positive that I woke up this morning.
Right.
I'm not even totally
I
sure.
still have to do all this other crap today, but I woke up.
Right.
Right.
But it really did become about how, where do I find the positives and what is positive?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how tiny, no matter, it's there somewhere. And sometimes you won't, if in some situations you can't always see it in that moment, but you can see it looking back.
Right. After the fact. Right.
And go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I learned this.
And that happens a lot.
Or, yeah.
One of the things, another exercise that I like to give people, if they're really struggling with changing that thought process,
Mhm.
start a gratitude journal.
Yes.
Start, even if it's one thing each night before you go to bed.
Mhm.
What is one thing that I am grateful for? And then next week, make it 2 things. The week after that, make it 3 things. And make it, make a list. What are 10 things that I'm grateful for today?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, I'm grateful for clean socks.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for gas in my car. I'm grateful for air in my tires. I am grateful for my daughter's gap-toothed grin.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that basic.
Right.
But
As you cultivate it.
as you cultivate it, as you grow it, as you exercise this, you begin to see a lot of different things to be grateful for. You begin to appreciate and have gratitude for the little things.
Mhm.
Gratitude for the fact that I can sit here and not see dust on that bookshelf. Gratitude that that there's sunlight today. Gratitude and again, those are higher vibrations.
So in that, you can add a little mindfulness aspect to that by when you find something that you are grateful for, take a moment to experience it or appreciate it.
Right.
Because
to actually
really
be with
internalize
it.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can say, oh, hey, the tree's pretty, but without taking a moment to actually appreciate that
Did you
beauty.
actually look at the tree? Did you see the leaves move? Did you see the sun? Did you?
What are you experiencing as you look at it? Those things really
they shift your brain chemistry.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
they
a great
shift your
way.
brain chemistry. And that is really the scientific crux of our reality.
Yeah.
Is our brain chemistry. Because you can put 2 people in an identical situation, and based on their brain chemistry, they're going to have 2 separate experiences.
Mm-hmm. Serotonin and dopamine are technically the only 2 things you enjoy.
Yep. And some of us enjoy them authentically, and some of us enjoy them medically.
And that's okay.
And it's fine as long as you get either one of them.
Right? If you're diabetic, you can buy insulin. If
That's
you
right.
can't make your own serotonin or dopamine,
You can buy an elevator.
You know?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just as important.
but there are also lots of ways that you, if you don't want to go that direction, you
Oh, yeah.
can work on.
I'm less likely to advocate medication, but
I'm not
yeah.
a medication person generally. But if you
But
are,
I know
that
individuals.
is totally fine.
Yeah, there is
If
no
that's what-
judgment there. Like she said, you wouldn't judge a diabetic for needing insulin.
Right.
Why should you judge someone that
For needing an antidepressant?
needs an antidepressant or a mood stabilizer?
Right.
Because again, your body chemistry, your brain chemistry determines how you are going to experience reality.
Yeah.
And those who are on those medications can verify that. Because I have a very good friend of mine, she knows exactly what she's going to experience if she doesn't take her medication. And she knows exactly how that changes when she does take her medication. I'm not saying she's less than at all
Right.
for needing the medication. I'm more inclined to be proud of you if you need the medication and you take the medication.
Right.
Than if you need the medication and you don't take the medication.
Right.
That makes no sense to me.
Right.
But
so it's interesting because even that all comes around to behavioral based change.
Yes.
Whether you're taking medication, whether you're doing like all the extra exercise and this and that, and whether you're making an attempt to find the positive and find the beauty.
Right.
All of it is manifestation.
Yes.
Every bit of it.
Yep. Because like I said in the beginning, you can't just think a happy thought and make it better.
Right.
It's actually putting it into practice.
Yeah.
It's the exercise of thinking the happy thought.
Right.
Because by the exercise of thinking the happy thought, you change brain chemistry. You change your mental frequency. You change what you attract to yourself. And it also changes how you identify in your reality, which in turn will change the way that people act toward you, which will also change your reality. Because if you're in a situation where you're used to people treating you like crap, you're going to continue to attract people that will treat you like crap if you've bought into that. But once you start changing your frequency, once you start changing your brain chemistry, you will recognize that those are not relationships that serve you, and you will seek out relationships that do. And at the same time, attract relationships that support where you are vibrating at this moment. And that's a pretty convoluted way to go about explaining manifestation. If you want to learn more about it, if you want to learn more about practices and how to tap into that deeper knowing, feel free to reach out. Be more than happy to do some mentoring and a little further exploration on topics that are specific to you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.